Should I use 10-cent words or $2 words? In school, I learned to use 10-cent words, so instead of saying, updated, from a paper that says a scientist doing experiment with fish would make it complicated to say, all biota exhibited 100% mortality rate. Just say, all fish died. Which is plain and simple and gets the idea across so that people understand what you are saying. But in the real world, time and time again, verbally or written, I see people higher up purposefully using $2 words to convey that they are educated, and to convey they can use difficult words that you don't understand, and suggest possibly they can do things that other people cannot, so they have power over you, maybe to write something like that to the CEO or board of directors, and if you are against him, the board of director probably won't believe you or not on your side when you write something all with 10-cent words versus his $2 words everywhere. So was I too naive to believe use 10-cent words? The world may not be simply about getting ideas across. What might be in more accurate descriptions of use of 10-cent words versus $2 words?
In my world, I have no concept of words having value or beneficial qualities accorded to their length. What matters is using the best word in a given context. As you note in your question above, register is paramount to word selection. It is up to the language user to develop a sense of what is correct and normal in any given situation. Indeed, hewing to a preference for short, simple words is to render a judgment that all of one's readers are dull, uneducated plebeians, unwashed hoi polloi, who must be addressed perforce as children, with grammar school vocabulary. On the contrary, as William Buckley observes in his lexicon, the taxonomy of English allows the gifted writer to amaze and delight his or her readers with occasional surprises, glimpses of the unusual, and suggestions for vocabulary improvement. Also, different words mean different things. It is more often than not the case that a short word press-ganged into a longer one's service may miss the mark by a nuanced degree. For example, the curator enjoined me to follow him. Here, you cannot replace the boldface word with asked and preserve the meaning of the original in its entirety. Simply say what you mean and use the most precise language available to you in keeping with the appropriate register expected by your readers.
Rule 1. Don't use a $2 word where a 10-cent word will do. Rule 2. Don't use a 10-cent word where a 10-cent word won't do. In other words, don't use long or obscure words purely for the sake of it, but don't hesitate to use them where they convey a particular meaning or nuance better than the alternatives. Context is also important. In a novel, or other creative/descriptive writing, it is often more appropriate to use more varied, colorful language than in, for example, a set of instructions, where simplicity and clarity are paramount.
It depends on your motives. Are you trying to impress or are you trying to communicate? As Fenry noted, people who use the $2 words are trying to impress, usually both themselves and someone else. Sometimes playing politics is necessary if you want to advance. Many are not even aware that they are not communicating. They try so hard to be impressive that they fail to be useful. Unfortunately, if the rest of the people around them are the same, only those who impress will advance. If you want to communicate, write as simply as possible, but no simpler. Know your audience, and write to them.
The only reason to pay for words, whether 10 cents or $2, is to buy clarity. If biota is the word that comes to your mind quickest, it is likely to be transparent to a listening fellow biologist. Replacing it with all the fish and plankton is counterproductive. Why did he not mention the coelenterata? If, though, you are trying to be clear to someone who is not familiar with the jargon, you have to rummage for exactly the right string of cheap words that adds up to precisely the cost of the single word you might otherwise use. I also want to mention at Mitch's point about vocabulary serving a gatekeeper role. A single word can be a wonderfully brief way to cut short the preliminaries of a conversation. Yes, let's talk about Nigerians.
If you're a good writer, you don't need $2 words. If you're not a good writer, $2 words won't help. It's true, many powerful people and higher-ups like to use $2 words when they write, perhaps because they feel insecure about the quality of their writing, or because they have been taught that simple, clear wording is inappropriate for discussing highly complex or technical subjects. In my experience, even people who write that way much prefer to read clear, well-written content written in simple, terse language, rather than stuff written the way they write. That said, there are certain highly dysfunctional fields, law and academia spring to mind, where turgid, unnatural prose is actually prized, so as always the number one rule is, know your audience.
Noted 3 isn't